Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Skip Allen Paints and the YouTube channel of Skip Allen. This is the third video in a series of videos about Paint Jam 2 brushes. In the last video, we ended with Inky Flows, and let's go now to Misty Mountain Wet Runny. This actually is a brush that came from my Eastern Water set. But I've adjusted it a bit. And what it does is it gives you exactly what it sounds like, a real runny brush. And when I say Misty Mountain Wet, I meant that it's really, I think of it as a mountain brush, something that you could see off in the distance, like that. And now I would probably use it with a lighter gray. So I would come up and, maybe make it a little darker in places and then come on over like that. Now if I wanted, I could drop it down like that. And now I have like reflections in a water. So if I went back up to, say, the dry wash, and I just came through, oops, I want to be that in the darker color, and I came through here and just began to draw a line, then you've got, a reflection in water. Something like that. Okay, so that's what Misty Mountain Wet was something I used. And Smooth Runny Sky comes from my original real watercolor category. And it is what you would imagine. It is a smooth, runny sky. And it gives you this sort of smooth look. Let's get rid of this. It does run a bit, especially if you get heavy with it. Or you can, get a sort of a smoother look by putting down less pressure. So really, you can begin to develop clouds and even some rain coming off the clouds. Well, you see, your sky can be rough even with the smooth, runny sky. And it can be used for a lot of other things as well. I just like that brush a lot. And next is Split Brush. Now, a split brush is a brush that has lots of texture and splits like that. So if I were doing something like, part of a cliff or an edge, I can use the split brush to get a nice textured look. Now, when I let go, it's going to, bleed. That texture that you get is going to soften, and you get this dark and light look. And you can come back over it and put in, again, faster movement gives you more, or gives you less opacity. And so see if I come back over the top, you can do something like that. I think it's a great brush, like I said, for making mountains or the side of mountains. And if we had another mountain kind of coming over here, Now we have the beginning of a waterfall coming right through there. Well, we can imagine that it was a waterfall. All right, so then we go to spotted wash. This is like, it's like the split brush, except that it's really quite spotty. There. When I put down a lot of pressure, this one is, the size is determined by pressure. So light pressure will give you a nice kind of single stroke, and as you increase your pressure, you get that spotted look. And remember that speed, I think this one is set up by speed, I'm not sure. Let's look what the opacity is set up as. Yes, velocity. But it's reversed. So when you have that little thing on there, that means that the slower you go, a lot of pressure, but slow, I'm going to get less opacity. Faster, dark opacity. So it's just the opposite of the way some of them work. And if this works better for you, then by all means, change your other ones to reverse the velocity. And what I love about this brush, though, is I can create some interesting shapes just with coming up like this. And, you know, changing the shape of the pressure of the brush. And I get this beginning of a forest there. It's a fun brush. Okay, so then we go to wet wash. Go down. And wet wash is what it sounds like. It's a wet wash. See? And it will run if you have a lot of paint there. A whole bunch of paint. And it runs more. I'm pretty sure it is set up with flow map, right? And so we have that flow map that we have set up. So let's go in here and we'll make this, we're going to really put a lot of paint down. The longer you twirl this around, the more, even though it's not getting any darker, it's in actuality adding more and more paint. Let go and then see, now it's going to run more because it had more paint down. Anyway, it's a really nice brush that, you know, gives me this nice thin line and then thick line, and it also works with the opacity set to velocity. Real nice wet brush. And then the last one here is dark stroke. And dark stroke, it's a brush that is supposed to give you a solid kind of dark line. Now, again, this brush is set up with size, has to do with pressure. So light pressure gives me a thin line. Heavy pressure gives me a thicker line. Now, notice slow gave me lots and lots of, a very opaque look to the brush. Come over here and do that fast, and I get the fastest part will give me less opacity. So the brush is a very nice brush to work with if for one stroke, something like bamboo leaves. See how that just gives you real nice strokes there, or even any kind of florals that you want to work with, something like this for an orchid type flower. Works fine. Or even, let's make this brush a little bigger, like that. Oh, I can't get it to do what I want. Let's try again. All right. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Just needed to work a little faster. And there you have a nice iris with the iris leaves. And we could bring this up a little more and do another iris. I just had to paint, oops, that'll work. I just had to practice a little bit with it to get them to work. Okay, so that's the dark stroke, and that's the last of the brushes. Now, I'm going to let this go just a little bit longer and tell you that you may need to change your preferences brush tracking, or you may need to set up brush tracking for each one of these brushes, a brush calibration. You've got to play with this velocity scale. I've always shown in many videos that I think for my stroke, I need my power, my pressure scale and pressure power all the way up. I'm finding that for these brushes, somewhere around 6 to 3.3, 6 for the velocity scale and 0.3 for the velocity power gives me the kind of speed differential that I need. And you need to play with that and set your own setup, set your own brush tracking so that you have the right velocity settings in order to get this dark and then light opacity. Okay, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.